Whew. That was a lot. That was a lot. It was really great to finally know why Michonne has had this isolationist outlook, to understand how they got the scars on their backs. I thought it was some kind of incision or something. It makes a lot more sense that it would be a brand. Like, it was really, really great to figure out what happened. It was really great that we got a lot of really amazing character work, that we got to focus on Michonne, because Michonne really hasn't been around a lot. I've said in other reactions that for me, it's all about character. I'm not the type of person to really care too much about plot. I mean, I enjoy a good plot, but I'm not, like, I'm never going to be the type of person picking out plot holes, you know, like nitpicking little plot holes and stuff like that. That's just not my focus. That's not why I watch a show. I watch a show for the characters. And The Walking Dead has never really done their characters justice. They did an amazing job with Daryl in the first 4 seasons, and they've done an amazing job with Carol throughout. It's been nothing but great character work for Carol. But besides that, their character work for pretty much everybody else has been a bit shaky, including Rick. The thing that they do in this show, or used to do, is kind of flip-flop. So a character is all about being a pacifist and not killing anybody, and then they're crazy and they're killing everybody. We just keep flipping and flopping, and it's this cycle. Yeah, I mean, how many times did Rick say that he didn't want to be a leader anymore, and then the next thing you know, it's the Rick-tatorship, over and over and over again, to the point where it doesn't mean anything anymore. You know, it's like, well, this is the same thing that we've seen 20 times already. And they just keep recycling the same story, the same plot between all of the characters. I mean, how many times did we see characters, you know, having breakdowns? And it's not that these characters wouldn't have breakdowns, because of course they would, but it always played out the same way. And it was just, anyway, I don't want to talk about things that I don't like, but it's just, they're doing such an amazing job taking everything we know about these characters and their relationships with one another and just building on it. Daryl and Michonne, they have never, like, particularly had a strong relationship, but the way that it's portrayed in this episode is fucking beautiful. It's such a special relationship, because of course they're the two people who were closest with Rick, and they've both lost him. So it makes sense that they would grow even closer. And yes, they're going to be the two people who won't stop looking for Rick. They're going to be the ones out there looking for him until they find a body. You know, that's the thing about a show that's been on for this long too. Like, we have such a rich history with these characters and their relationships, and you can really mine that history. And I love how we're continually name-checking past characters. You know, Glenn and Abraham are name-checked a lot. Obviously Rick is, and Carl. I do wish that maybe they would mention some other people that we've lost along the way, but those are the big ones, so it makes sense. But I mean, you just mention Glenn or Carl and I'm gonna start to tear up. Like, they just have to mention those characters. It's just so goddamn good. It's just so good. And I cannot express how much I love Daryl. Oh my God, he's always been one of my favorite characters, but they really did him wrong in after Beth's death. You know, I talked about this before. He didn't really speak. I had forgotten. I think I've like repressed season 7 and 8, but I was watching a YouTube video. It was called Why Daryl Ain't What He Used to Be or something like that. And it was an older video. I'm very, very careful not to watch anything from after 2018. But I was watching that and I was reminded of all of these really stupid things that Daryl was doing, particularly, I guess, in season 8. Well, yeah, 7 and 8. Things that just didn't make any sense, that were out of character. And I remember getting really frustrated with him because he was just making stupid choices. Like the fact that he got up and punched Negan after Negan killed Abraham. Why would you do that? And I know that he's an emotional guy. I know, but he's not stupid. And there were just so many things, and I had completely forgotten that he was making all these stupid choices, and it just, things that didn't fit with his character. You know, like I said, I think I just repressed 7 and 8, honestly. But like, this is the best version of Daryl. This is the best he's ever been. I love how he's open to his friends, like touching people, like hugging and patting them on the shoulder, and you know, there's actual affection. He's not just, you know, hiding in the corner and grunting and stuff. Like, there's actual affection. He's having actual conversations with people. I adored that scene with Judith. It was beautifully shot. And yeah, it's like these characters have a history, right? He's Uncle Daryl. It brings me back to the prison when he was holding Judith when she was first born. He's the one who named her little ass kicker. And it's like, yes, I want to see this. I want to see him being Uncle Daryl. I want to see that these people have history and they have relationships. I don't want to just, I don't want it just to just be talk, like, oh, we're family or whatever. I want to see it. And it's just, it's so good. And speaking of good, oh my God. Denai, she could win an Emmy for this episode. She was incredible. She had to do so many different things and she completely nailed it. I felt so bad for her. Yeah, it was just some really, really incredible acting. So the actual origin of the scars was maybe a little underwhelming. It was a little strange. It does feel a little bit like old Walking Dead, how we just would have these fucking batshit crazy people who would do these crazy things, and it didn't feel like it was rooted in reality. I mean, I don't know, maybe Terminus would really happen in the real world. Maybe, I don't know. It's a little much, but at the time, you go with it because that's the world of The Walking Dead, right? But I like that the show this season is more grounded. And so introducing this woman who, I don't know, she steals people's children and brainwashes them, and they're like feral children, like wild animals. I don't know. It was a little much. But I'm glad that ultimately, like, the thing that they did, which was killing a bunch of kids, was appropriately horrific. Because, yeah, I was wondering, like, what could be the thing that they're talking about, you know, when Daryl told Henry, like, you don't know what we had to do or what I had to do or whatever. So I'm glad that it was appropriately horrific. I do think it was a strange choice, unless I missed it, and maybe I should have gone back and watched it, but we didn't actually see Daryl kill any children, right? It was just Michonne. But he came out with his knives were all bloody, and he was covered in blood. So he clearly had to. I wonder why they didn't show it. Like I said, unless I missed it, I think that's a little strange. Because what I was expecting was that Michonne would get kind of overwhelmed, and then you'd see one of the kids get hit with a crossbow bolt. And that didn't happen. So I was like, well, did Daryl not kill any of the kids? But he had to have, because of his line from that previous episode. And then, yeah, he comes out and he's got these bloody knives, and you're like, oh, okay. So yeah, it was appropriately horrific, but it was a little bit too old Walking Dead over the top for me, but like it's a minor quibble, honestly. I think in previous seasons they would have completely botched this whole thing and it would have been a train wreck. It's just simple things like the flashbacks, like the mechanics of the flashbacks. It was so simple. It was so easy for me to understand when we were in present day and when we were in a flashback. And in previous seasons, it would have been, they would have done some fancy shit that would have totally fallen on its face. Like, it would have been a complete mess. And they actually did this really, really beautifully. I love how the flashbacks tied into the current story. I love how they used Negan. Like, I am loving Negan. I love saying that because, as I've said a million times, I adore Jeffrey Dean Morgan. He is just so charming, so charismatic. He's one of those people that when he's on screen, he's electrifying. Like, you cannot take your eyes off of him. So I want him around, but I want to not hate him. I want to not look at him and think, you're the guy who killed Glenn, which is what I always think when I see him. But they have been using him so perfectly to the point where I want them to let him out. Can you believe it? I actually want them to let Negan out. Who would have thought? Not me. I loved that scene between him and Michonne. Like, it was just such... They're just like... It was like some powerhouse acting, you know? It was so good. And I love how they've established his relationship with Judith. And he is a straight shooter. I mean, he really is. He's not gonna be feeding Judith some bullshit. It's surprising that he did tell her about Glenn and Abraham, and he seemed to genuinely feel bad about it. I really, really hope that they do rehabilitate him, because if they let him out and then he goes bad again, I'm gonna be kind of pissed because they've made me like him, they've made me root for him, and I don't want to regret that, and I don't want a repeat of, you know, old story. I don't want to rehash something that we've already done. Show me a new side of Negan, and they're doing that. And I just want them to keep exploring it because I love it. He and Michonne are so good together. Like, it's just fireworks whenever they're having their arguments. It's just firework. And they've really made me care about Judith, like this actress. She's so good. Yes, she does. She is a little bit, maybe a little bit too adult, but I'll give it a pass because, hey, she's grown up in the zombie apocalypse. But that's kind of the thing that I'm talking about when I complain about Henry. It's that, like, Judith, she knows what's up. And she still has that childlike optimism. She wants to help people just like Henry does. But she understands the stakes. And I just feel like this little 6-year-old, or what, she's not 6, she's probably 8, maybe? I feel like she's more mature than 15-year-old Henry. So that's why Henry grates on me. You know, I don't mind him being idealistic. I don't mind him being a hormonal teenager. I get that. But he... And I do give him a little bit of a pass because, yeah, he was raised by Ezekiel, but I still think that a kid raised in this world would be more like Judith. I'm happy that Michonne finally told her, even though it turns out that she already knew, but she didn't know all the details. I think that's great. So anyway, I guess that's it. I feel like I'm forgetting something. There's always something that I forget when I edit the episode. I always think, damn it, I wanted to mention that, and I wanted to mention that. So my guess is that next episode is going to be the fair, but shit's going to go down. So, and I'm not looking forward to it. I know we're going to lose some people, and I don't want to. There is not a single character that we spend any amount of time with that I would want to lose. You know, certainly I would care about certain characters more than others, but we'll have a whole bunch of badasses in one place, which is convenient, but it also means that the communities are kind of unprotected. Are we going to lose communities? I would hate... Look, my personal favorite community is the Hilltop. So I would be okay with losing the kingdom, but I wouldn't want to. Like, I guess that would be, because they've already established the kingdom is struggling. So I guess that would be the sort of most logical place to be destroyed in a battle. But anyway, I think I'm going to watch the next episode. So, all right. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.